settle for Ghana Braves.
The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has rejected a 20% increase in transport fares announced by the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, GRTCC, insisting it was not consulted. The GRTCC says the fare adjustment set to take effect on Friday, August 8, 2025, is due to the 1 cedi fuel levy and the rising cost of spare parts. Public Relations Officer at the GPRTU, Abasi Moro, says the move from GRTCC is politically motivated.
That is coming from GRTCC. We are not part of that. Normally, the two of us sign a communique, but I believe they are seriously into politics this time, so they went solo. Not at all. Until our leadership speaks, we shall dwell on what our leadership says. We are not part of what GRTCC come up with. We are not part of that.
Salary negotiations between government and organized labor are expected to conclude within the next 3 weeks. This assurance is coming from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, which has also appealed to unions to moderate their expectations. Meanwhile, sources within organized labor says they will table more than 50% increment before governments claiming the economy is doing well. The Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, joined the call for restraints by labor.
Some workers' unions have written to us, giving us timelines to negotiate. We have referred them to the Labour Commission. They are dealing with those issues. I want to call on them to appreciate the fact that so much concern is given to them and that we will eventually listen and do the needed arrangements so we can, all of us, live in comfort, peace.
President John Mahama has charged African leaders to build a resilient and self-sufficient health system which aligns with national priorities for health sovereignty. President Mahama emphasized the need for Africa to take charge of its health destiny, stressing that the continent must no longer be a passive recipient of aid, but instead take full ownership of its health agenda.
Africa must no longer be the patient. It must be the driver. It must be the author. It must be the architect and the advocate of its own health destiny. And I extend an open invitation to all nations represented here to join us in building an African health investment ecosystem that is driven by purpose and is powered by equity and anchored in our sovereignty.
Minister for Finance, Dr. Kasil Atufor-Singh, has underscored that the persistent losses recorded by Produce Buying Company Limited, PBC, are largely self-inflicted, stemming from entrenched corruption. Inaugurating the new PBC governing board, Dr. Forson urged members to eschew corrupt practices and ensure that resources meant for farmers are protected and used prudently.
We know the state of the PBC today could have been avoided, but we are where we are because of poor management and obviously corruption. As new managers, remember to account for every single penny that belongs to the state.
The Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana has described the disconnection of the Ghana Revenue Authority from the Identity Verification Service platform by the National Identification Authority as shameful. Executive Secretary of the Association, Samson Asaki Awingobet, noted the move is having immediate and severe effects on the association's members, particularly at the country's ports, causing significant delays and business disruptions.
I think that this is a shame. They should apologize to Ghanaians, especially those who wanted to clear their cargo at the port. Because of this banter between NIA and GRA, you have to end up paying demurrage and rent. Many importers' cargo are running to demurrage if they cannot verify by NIA, GRA on the NIA system before you can proceed to do the entrance.
Former Arsenal footballer Thomas Partey has been granted conditional bail after being charged with 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. The 32-year-old Ghanaian appeared at Westminster Magistrate Court on Tuesday, charged with 5 counts of rape against 2 women and a charge of sexual assault against a 3rd woman. The alleged offences took place between 2021 and 2022 when he was playing for North London club Arsenal. He was charged 4 days after leaving Arsenal when his contract expired at the end of June. His next appearance is at the Old Bailey on 2 September.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7 on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also on YouTube. Also on TV3 Ghana. So it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Sensa Spray and Coil, Kumtumtum Preko. Coming up next, this is a story that has been evolving right from the last 7 hours. We've been monitoring this. Coming up, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, goes after musician Charles Mensah, popularly known as Shatta Wale, retrieving a luxury vehicle suspected to be proceeds of crime. But Shatta Wale, just some few minutes ago, he went live on his social media handle and he's been pushing back, replying the EOCO boss Raymond Acha, accusing him of going on a fishing expedition and a number of things that he said. But look, stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. This has been unfolding in a very, very interesting way. There are some names that have just come to the fore and have been confirmed by Shatta Wale himself, that we earlier got the indication of that particular name of the individual, that National Signals Bureau officer who is said to have been involved in this. This EOCO statement was put out earlier today that they've seized the 2019 Lamborghini Urus from the residence of dancehall musician Shatta Wale and have also assessed him together with a former officer of the National Signals Bureau. Take note of this. A former officer of the National Signals Bureau. Now, we have an identity of this particular former officer of the National Signals Bureau tonight. Stay with us as persons of interest in the ongoing investigation. But Shatta Wale is not exactly enthused about the development. He has since taken to social media to accuse the investigative body, that's EOCO, of abuse of power. But let's understand exactly what the EOCO really undertook in this operation, what they gathered. Dennis Paberi-Wadam is joining me in the studio to chronicle the events right from the early hours of today and how, you know, everything played out this evening. Dennis Paberi-Wadam, Esquire, it's good to have you. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alfred.
Good stuff. It all started with Charles Mensah, Shatta Wale himself, making a post on social media.
That's right. He gave us an indication that there was something happening.
Fantastic.
Had it not been for that particular post, I doubt many would know that a lot had been happening behind the scenes.
Let's get into it.
So this was one of the first posts that he made, where he called out the acting executive director of EOCO by his name, Raymond Acha, EOCO boss. If you go make NDC go out of power next 4 years, bringing guns to my house was uncalled for, with exclamation marks. This raised a lot of questions as to what exactly was happening, for which reason he had to post this. Few minutes later, he went on to make another post. EOCO boss, the president of Ghana didn't put you in that office to come and humiliate the citizens of this country. Remember, God knows sleep. Not happy. So many were wondering what exactly is going on, what the issue is between Shatta Wale and then the
Raymond Acha
and EOCO itself. Then, few hours later, there was a statement from EOCO seeking to to put matters into perspective as to what exactly was ongoing, for which reason Shatta Wale had to make those comments. And if you indulge me, please. This is the full length of the statement that came from EOCO.
Let's get into it.
That in June this year, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, acting on a 2023 request from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, and the United States Justice Department undertook an operation which led to a lawful search in a home at Trasaco Valley, Phase 1 in Accra. It continues that the operation, which was undertaken by the Surveillance and Asset Recovery Unit, SARU, of EOCO, led to the discovery and seizure of a 2019 Lamborghini Urus, which the FBI and the Justice Department have tied to the proceeds of the criminal enterprise of one Nana Kwabena Amoah, who is currently serving an 86-month sentence for several financial crimes in the U.S. It continues to say that the car was seized from one Charles Niama, a.k.a. Shatta Wale. The officers were professional and civil, and the search and seizure occurred without incident.
I see.
That Niama had pleaded with officers that he did not want the seizure to be made public because the vehicle was a big part of his brand, and that if his supporters saw the vehicle being driven away in the company of EOCO, it would destroy his brand.
No, let's stay the steam on that one. Let's go back a bit. So, according to EOCO,
yes,
they say that Shatta Wale pleaded
with officers
with the officers of EOCO,
yes,
that he didn't want the entire seizure of this Lamborghini to be made public. But then again,
reasons that he wanted his brand to be protected because that vehicle, the Lamborghini, part of
was
his
a
brand.
big part of his brand.
Precisely so.
And you can understand why, because he used to post that particular vehicle.
I mean, for most of the luxury vehicles that he has, he makes them public.
True.
So but a good number of his fans know what is worth it when it comes to the number of vehicles that he has, and to that extent, the luxury vehicles. So that featured prominently in that statement, that Niama had pleaded with officers that he did not want the seizure to be made public because the vehicle was a big part of his brand, and that if his supporters saw the vehicle being driven away in the company of EOCO, it would destroy his brand.
I see.
Now let's see what EOCO did. So Niama was allowed to surrender the vehicle himself, which is currently in the possession of EOCO. That is to say, EOCO graciously granted his request. So he was allowed to surrender the vehicle himself.
So he drove the vehicle,
according to EOCO,
to the office of EOCO.
Precisely. Now, it is a standard safety protocol practice for officers of the Surveillance and Asset Recovery Unit, SARU, to carry weapons while on operation for the safety of officers. And this addresses the part where Shatta Wale raises concerns about it being unnecessary for officers to come to his home with guns.
Right.
They say it is in line with safety standard protocol.
So EOCO is indeed confirming that the officers went to his house with guns?
Yes.
But for the safety
The
purpose?
FBI and the Justice Department intend to send a formal mutual legal assistance, MLA, to the government of Ghana to return the car to the United States as part of Nana Kwabena Amoah's $4.6 million restitution. Now, Charles Niama, a.k.a. Shatta Wale, and a former senior officer of the National Signals Bureau have been assessed as persons of interest and will be invited by EOCO to assist in further ongoing investigations in the coming days. It doesn't appear the matter is ending anytime soon, because there's a signal that there's an ongoing investigation for which Shatta Wale and a former senior official of the National Signals Bureau have been assessed to be persons of interest. Now, EOCO may share the final investigations reports to the FBI and the Justice Department as part of our ongoing cooperation.
I see.
Alfred, having received this, we were also curious, wanted to know more about who this person is, for which reason the FBI had to coordinate with EOCO to now begin to trace some assets for which they say this forms part of proceeds of crime.
Who are we talking about?
We are talking about Nana Kwabena Amoah.
I see. There's over 4.7 million restitution.
So this means that this is a person who has been convicted for some crimes. This person has agreed to pay back a certain amount of money to the United States of America.
Like what our Attorney General is doing.
Yes.
You know, that
restitution.
You play.
Precisely so. So we checked on the FBI, some FBI documents, and we actually got some really good information on what exactly this person has done and what his current status is.
That's interesting stuff.
Now, you see the case citation as U.S. versus Amoah and McDonald. That Nana Kwabena Amoah and Shimia McDonald impersonated a non-profit organization that had business with the city of Lexington and convinced a city official to wire funds owed to the non-profit. the city wired over 3.9 million to a fraudulent account opened by McDonald using a stolen identity that had been obtained for him by AMWA. Ultimately, the bank and the city were able to recover all the funds that were fraudulently transmitted. Investigated found approximately 70 other victims of AMWA and McDonald's fraud scheme, 60 of which suffered losses of more than $4.6 million. Now, the result is that AMWA was sentenced to 86 months in prison and ordered to pay nearly $4.7 million in restitution. And McDonald received 80 months and was ordered to pay nearly $4.7 million in restitution. So this indeed is a case that has happened in the US for which AMWA has been convicted, and now he has gone into restitution to pay this amount of money. Mind you, the EOCO statement says that this vehicle will be returned as part of restitution of AMWA. So this is what EOCO says, that yes, they will go through what they call a mutual legal assistance for the government of Ghana to return the car to the United States as part of AMWA's 4.7 restitution.
So that puts, it's a very important derivation that you referenced there, and then it's a great job there that we went to, you got to the FBI website, then bringing this information about this gentleman, this Ghanaian in question, puts the matters in context as to why he is actually now being the source of everything that's playing out in the case of Shatta Wale now. But then there's another part of it as well, is it not?
Yes.
That has to do with this former officer of the National Signals Bureau.
Yes.
Do we have pointers to an identity of who this person is?
Yes, so we have been knocking on we have been doing some background checks to understand what really the matters could be and if there could be any link in that respect. But thankfully, in a live broadcast a while ago by Shatta Wale himself, he did indicate and he mentioned names. And if you do draw the links, it leads to one person. And we'll establish that soon.
Perfect.
However, Shatta Wale has also stated some things or some facts from his point, indicating what actually happened. And what stands out in that broadcast is to the fact that, yes, he confirmed that, yes, the Lamborghini in question is a vehicle that he bought, and he bought it for $150,000, that he bought it from Kobna Edubuahin. Now, we know Kobna Edubuahin is the former boss at the National Signals Bureau.
That name certainly rings a bell.
Exactly. He's going through a criminal trial in respect of some deal or some transaction in his former office.
Absolutely.
That aside, we had also been told that there were other issues that had to do with in relation to luxury vehicles and all that. So this now brings clarity to the matter. The EOCO referencing a former National Signals Bureau official who, together with Shatta Wale, have now become persons of interest, because Shatta Wale says that he bought the vehicle from this person.
So Shatta Wale is just now confirming the identity of the former National Signals Bureau officer that the EOCO failed to put out.
Exactly.
So Shatta
they
Wale
did mention,
says,
except they don't put the person's name in there.
Absolutely. Then Shatta comes on a live broadcast just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
And says, Kwabena Edubuahin, he bought the car from him.
And in fact, Shatta Wale says that when he was invited by EOCO and he met the executive director of EOCO, one of the things that he was told was the fact that, yes, Kwabena Edubuahin is currently going through a process, in Shatta Wale's words, that he is going down, and if Shatta Wale does not show where some of his vehicles are, he would go down with him.
Right.
That is Shatta Wale's narrative. But Shatta Wale says that this name, Nana Kwabena Amwa, as appeared on the EOCO statement, that this was not what he was told when he had a conversation with EOCO. That the only name that he was told about was the question of Kwabena Edubuahin.
That in this respect, the former National Signals Bureau boss.
Yes. But Shatta Wale also did indicate that when it comes to the vehicle, he bought the vehicle from him, who is a third party. He does not know who imported the vehicle. He does not even know who the original owner of the vehicle is or was. But he states categorically that he did not buy the vehicle from Nana Kwabena Amwa. In fact, that he doesn't know him.
Who Nana Kwabena Amwa being the gentleman who is in the U.S. now,
exactly,
who is
the
pleaded guilty.
In the U.S.
But you're a lawyer, so let me put you on this one. Does this narrative by Shatta Wale shield him of any responsibility
Well,
for whoever that. Yes, he didn't buy the vehicle from Nana Kwabena Amoah. He bought it from Kwabena Duboahing. And so, well, he has no dealings with this gentleman.
So when you look at the statement from EOCO carefully, even though it does not mention money laundering, these are matters that border on money laundering.
Right.
And the offense of money laundering is so wide that you may not be directly involved with a person who is involved in an illegality, but to the extent that you are seen to be benefiting from proceeds of crime,
right,
then it robs of you.
Absolutely.
So it matters not really that you do not know the person in question, but that they are saying that the vehicle in question is a proceed of crime. Right. So we are tracing it. So when they find it with you, it's only reasonable that you also come under investigation to clear your name.
As an interested party.
If it happens that you bought it in good faith for money without notice that indeed this was the matter, that's a different conversation. But for a starting point, once it's a proceed of crime and that EOCO has been gotten in touch by FBI and they're tracing that vehicle, that should not even arise in the first place. But that's aside the point. He goes on to make other points. That's the only reason he handed over the car to EOCO was the fact that he was told that the car was involved in a shooting incident in the U.S. In his own words, that somebody was shot in the car and that he got scared, he was traumatized. So that was the reason
he had knowledge.
He surrendered that car. He accuses EOCO of abuse of power and targeting. Now he says that he's no longer interested in the vehicle, but it doesn't even look like EOCO is interested in giving the vehicle back to him, because when you look at the final part of the EOCO statement, it is clear what they intend to do with the vehicle. That's what the government of Ghana, to return the vehicle to the United States as part of restitution.
For this gentleman. I see. Now, we have a video, right?
Yes.
That it puts the matters in context. So indeed, Shatta Wale's narrative that he bought this vehicle in question, this Lamborghini, for $150,000.
And a yellow one at that.
A yellow Lamborghini for $150,000 from one Kwabena Eduboahing.
Yes.
Now, that name, as Dennis has established, brings to mind the former National Signals Bureau boss. Now, if you recall, the EOCO statement referenced a former National Signals Bureau officer. Now, one of the businesses of this former National Signals Bureau boss, Kwabena Eduboahing, who is standing trial now, is a car dealership. He used to deal in luxury vehicles. I'm going to show you a video of that company, that luxury vehicles company that Kwabena Eduboahing owned. And you will see the Lamborghini, the yellow Lamborghini in question that Shatta Wale bought in this video. Take a look at this.
Now available at the Dream Collection for rental, chauffeur-driven or your own drive. Now available at the Dream Collection for rental, chauffeur-driven or your own drive. Now available at the Dream Collection for rental, chauffeur-driven or your own drive. Now available at the Dream Collection for rental, chauffeur-driven or your own drive.
This video speaks for itself,
Yes,
is it
it
not?
does. It does.
So this is the video of Kwabena Eduboahing's company.
Precisely so.
Right.
And these are some of the luxury vehicles that... This actually is a video that the investigative bodies have, for which they are looking into the matter. And our sources did indicate that, yes, clearly, you could see the Lamborghini in there.
Dennis, stay with me. Richard Commodore is a security analyst. He's been following how this matter has been evolving over the last at least 10 hours or so. We've been watching closely. Mr. Commodore, thank you for joining us. Now, with all the references and the great detail that Dennis brings to this, taking into consideration what the FBI itself has put out about this gentleman in question, which links Shatta Wale, and how the EOCO has come in now, from the security perspective, How do you connect the dots on this?
Definitely. Dennis mentioned one of them. That is money laundering and financial crime and related activities. And if you remember, we had a discussion about 2 days ago when the CID boss mentioned car theft, and Ghana has become a dominant place for many of these cars that has been stolen from one of the destinations we are talking about. And I said, if care is not taken, the fraud transference could be sent into second to third parties who might have just purchased a car for luxury or for business. And this is one of those cases. Now, when you speak about Shatta Wale in particular, he has been a person of interest since the day he started throwing money into the air and began to ride in town with those large numbers of vehicles, motorbikes. And when we say the person of interest, what we are talking about is that you have either come under crime notice, you have come under investigation notice, you have come under national security interest notice, you have come under safety notice, or you have come under insecurity notice. The profiling agencies within the law enforcement agencies will not prompt you, but then that is who he has become. And a person of interest could be nationally or globally. And to that extent, whatever activities you are engaging or related parties, to the extent that fraud can be investigated and you could be drawn in, you needed to take your due diligence seriously. And I don't think in this case he did that. And that is why he was drawn into this case. Alfred, if you remember, one of the charges against him was car theft. And
Yes.
that is one of the things the Attorney General was pursuing. And for some of us within the investigative environment arena, we are aware of many of these cases. And I was surprised he didn't cooperate with Ramonacha, and he forced EOCO to issue the statement, which EOCO wouldn't do under normal circumstances. And so these are some of the things I talked to you about, options available to investigative agencies and prosecution agencies. Once you force them, then they are also entitled to issue out or to adopt some of the options available to them. And to that extent, I think he will need to be a bit more sober, because after you see, I've said it before, once you come under crime notice and the notice is served publicly or privately and is made known to you, you do not dictate how the investigation should be done and which approach to be done, which approach should be adopted. One of the words in the lines there is surveillance. It means that Dubois and Shatta Wale, many of our celebrities who have not taken due diligence seriously, have been put under surveillance by international organizations and local collaborators for a very long time. And the decisions could go against them when the adverse findings are made public.
I see. But then you reference how EOCO decided to deal with this matter, because they agreed to Shatta Wale's plea to them that he didn't want this matter public because, this Lamborghini was a big part of his brand. They did this quietly until today that I think he went on social media, and then that prompted EOCO to also put out this statement. I mean, is that regular practice? That,
to every action, to every reaction, there's an action, and he caused it. I think he went on social media and said some other things. These are the things we are only knowing on social media. We don't know the phone conversations. You have become a person of interest, and there's surveillance. There are various forms of surveillance in this country and in some other parts of the world, which are standard procedure for investigations. And so you have come under crime investigations. You have come under notice of global investigations. You have come under, some level of profiling. You need to sort of, take it easy. Other than that, if you trigger one reaction, the subsequent ramifications and the consequences could be dire. And I think that is where our brother Shatta Wale found himself. Let me advise that many years ago, I used to teach celebrities about due diligence when it comes to transactions and some activities they engage in, and how they can choose their relations and, people they associate with. Probably they will need to go back and look at some of those training videos and engage themselves in. Other than that, the world is becoming a complex place that if care is not taken, associated crimes, particularly when it comes to money laundering and financial crime, proceeds of crime can become a terrible thing. One of the charges against Ghana is that we don't confiscate crimes, or we don't confiscate proceeds from crime. And this might be one of the test cases. And that is why I wasn't surprised. The letter says that they might be sending their car to the U.S.
I see, but this is an operation that was indeed initiated by the FBI here in Ghana, linking a number of these stolen vehicles to destination Ghana. Last week, we had that update as well from the CID, and in fact, the early part of this week as well, we got that update. The CID also conducting its own operation together with Interpol as well. Now, how do you, from the security perspective, see, this playing out? Because it appears that this country, for a long time, had become a destination for these stolen vehicles, and our security agencies maybe were not paying attention to that aspect of things until now?
So, Alfred, it used to be a usual pattern where a huge number of cars or quantity of cars could be thrown into this country by fraudulent means. In one particular instance, prominent politicians were using fraudulent cars for their campaigns. And those cars were retrieved by our security agencies and they were thrown back out of this country. I'm saying that Ghana has not just become a transit point, but will become a destination and an origin for all manner of crimes, including money laundering, financial crime, drugs, arms, and many of these things we are talking about. It's also put pressure on our investigative bodies to mobilize themselves. But then again, go back to the disposition of Remonacha. You saw Remonacha, having been elected to lead EOCO, has some relationship with the National Crime Agency. The National Crime Agency is an institution set by the UK who deals with crimes on behalf of the UK government outside of the UK. Then you also have collaborations coming in from Israel and the US. This is somebody who has some pedigree and has a profile that makes him flexible to deal with some of these institutions without compromising the internal security of this country. There has to be checks and balances. But once you have come under radar, you do not dictate how the operations should be governed. If he has not gone to social media with many of the posts we are seeing, I believe even though the option for EOCO to issue a statement into this particular matter, they would have waived it and kept the situation under control, investigate it, send the car back, and the general public or the large fans who was afraid could be vulnerable and compromised, wouldn't have known about it. And we would have just heard that the Attorney General is charging the Dubois with a stolen car. But now he has opened the pavilion rooms and many other things could come out. Because after you know what? The outcome of this investigation, which EOCO indicated that they will share with the FBI, can also become a case for prosecution at our courts. And Shatta Wale could be found himself at the other side of the coin.
And very quickly, before I let you go, now we've seen international interest in Ghana as a result of this stolen vehicles being brought into this country. Interpol, FBI, all involved in one activity or the other to uncover these stolen vehicles. For the people who are watching us now, who may have bought some of these stolen vehicles at carports unknowingly, what should they be doing now?
Yeah, it's a major vulnerability. It's a major fraud transferring risk that I'm thinking if I should get to the CID boss or the IGP or my brothers who work at the auto fraud department of the CID, they will need to collaborate a bit more where we are going to have trackers that may track some of these cars with the enablement from FBI and the Interpol so that we do not allow them to come into the system in the first place. Other than that, individuals may struggle with the capacity of doing an effective due diligence, not just on the transactional level, but on vehicles they will want to ship into this country. And it spreads out the risks to many other people, which also means that the BNI, and my brother Charles Kippel and many of the guys at the immigration and the CID block in particular, will need to investigate many of the, the car vendors in this country, the garages. Some of them deliberately have been used for fraudulent activities over the years. And car garages have come to the line again.
Right.
And they will need to be investigated, to be cleaned up. And once they are cleaned up, it serves the general public. Other than that, they are transferring the risks to second and third parties, which I think it is not fair.
And I do appreciate you, as always, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you so much. Richard Kumado is a security analyst, and bringing some perspective as well to how things have been playing out. If you go on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana on Facebook, but also on 3news.com, we have serialized the EOCO statement on Charles Nyama, Shatta Wale, and what Shatta Wale has also been saying in response to that statement. We have also serialized it as well. You'll find on 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, another matter which has been evolving thick and fast from last week up until today. Evatex Logistics Limited. That's the company at the center of the controversial revenue assurance contract. And they are threatening a legal action against the Ghana Airports Company Limited. They've given a 7-day ultimatum for the restoration of their contract. They say if Ghana Airports Company Limited does not restore their contract that they have cancelled, they would take them on legally. So that is the latest on this particular company. So let's get into it now. You'll see the picture of Paul Adomotri because apart from him being a journalist, he was a former board chair of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Just about a week ago, he was invited for questioning by the Office of Special Prosecutor. We saw how things played out. And the issue that he was invited for was about this contract, which, according to him, it was Manasseh Azure-Awene that even brought his attention to the fact that the contract had been signed in the first place. And the contract was signed on the 4th of December, 2024, 3 days before Election Day, December 7. Well, as things played out, days after, the Ghana Airports Company Limited wrote a letter communicating the cancellation of the said contract that had been signed. Manasseh eventually published the full details of that expose. This morning, the lawyers of Evatex, the company at the center of this controversy, have written. They say that they act as lawyers for Evatex Logistics and they hold its instructions to respond to the said letter on the 28th of July. This 28th of July letter was the one communicating the termination of the revenue assurance audit agreement between Evatex and the Ghana Airport Company Limited. In the said letter, you convey the intention of the Ghana Airport Company Limited to terminate the revenue assurance audit dated 4th December 2024, effective 27 August. Our client has received this information to its utter dismay, given that it has heavily invested in the infrastructure tailor-made for the Ghana Airports Company Limited, pursuant to the agreement aforementioned. Furthermore, our client considered the intention to terminate the said contract as actuated by bad faith and unreasonableness. We are instructed by our client to inform you that the purported termination is unacceptable to its giving its capital investment into this contract in the region of some $64.6 million. That's how much Evatex says they have invested in Ghana Airport Company Limited, this entire agreement of revenue assurance. Moreover, our client had already started executing its assignment in fulfillment of the contract and indeed prepared reports for your attention and action. In view of the foregoing, and in the spirit of seeking an amicable settlement of the matter, our client instructs us to inform you to withdraw the said letter within 7 days upon receipt of this letter. We are further instructed that if upon the expiration of the 7 days you fail or refuse to do so, we have our client's full instruction to institute an action to vindicate its right and seek relief, including but not limited to its capital investment. That is what's happening now. Manasseh Azure-Awene, he led the entire process of investigating this matter, shining the light on this contract or this agreement, which has been terminated now. He's joining us on Zoom. Manasseh, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Alfred, and thanks for having me.
That's the response of Evatex to the decision by the Ghana Airports Company Limited to terminate this agreement after your expose. They say that they've given the Ghana Airport 7 days from today to restore the contract, or else they will go to court to retrieve the $64.6 million that they have invested already in this agreement.
Well, it sounds very ridiculous and strange at the same time to think that this company, which appeared to be so dormant prior to this contract, suddenly thinks or wants Ghanaians to believe that it had $64 million to invest in this shady agreement. It will interest you to note that in our report, we discovered when we wrote to Senate to find out how many workers this company had registered and were paying as Senate, the 3 years prior to this contract, in 2022, Senate recorded 0 employees, 2023, 0 employees. The first 4 months of 2024, that's the year they won the contract, 0 employees. And at the time this company was given the contract, it had only 1 employee. And we have evidence that when it finally got the contract, it used the SML workers. We also have evidence from the documents this company submitted to the GACL for the contract. And this is the tax clearance certificate, which showed that for 3 consecutive years, this company recorded 0 turnover. This company recorded 0 chargeable income. And in the year it won the contract, 2024, it was assessed and its tax liability amounted to 2,000 Ghana cedis. 2,000 Ghana cedis, out of which it paid 1,000 cedis. And this is the company that wants Ghanaians to believe that just after winning this contract, it was able to get $64 million to invest. It will be interesting if the airport company is able to tell us what investment they know that this company has put in place. $64 million is not like 5,000 Ghana cedis.
Absolutely.
If it is equipment, if it is software, if it is hardware, the company should prove. And note that this is a sister company of SML. This company is actually a mining company. At the time it won the contract, it didn't have revenue assurance auditing as part of its services. It went to the Registrar General or Registrar of Companies to add those to its object of business or its principal activity 3 months after winning the contract. We also wrote to the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, and the institute said that, look, if any company or individual wants to hold itself or himself or herself up as offering services in revenue assurance auditing, it must be registered with the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. It must be licensed. And we asked specifically, is Evatex registered? No. Is SML registered? No. And the institute said if any company or individual does these services without a license, they would be subjected to a fine, a prison sentence, or both if found guilty. So this is a company that should be facing prosecution as we speak. And they have the guts to want to do this. And a lot of things went on with this contract.
I see. But Manasseh, as you indicated, it will be for them. They have the burden to prove, indeed, that they have invested $64.6 million between December 4 and the set date that this contract was terminated or this agreement was terminated. But they're asking questions of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Apart from Paul Adomotri, who has been invited for questioning, who else has the burden of also answering questions about this particular deal?
The CEO of Evatex has a burden of answering how it was involved in this. His company was involved, and I'm talking about Evans Eduse, who also owns SML. We have the PPA led by Frank Mante, who is the CEO, because a lot of things went wrong in the procurement process. Procurement laws were breached. And it was so blatant and obvious that this company did not qualify to even get a contract through single source procurement. But the PPA shut its eyes to obvious anomalies and granted approval. So Frank Mante, who has the PPA, should be answering questions. Apart from Paul Adomotri, the next key figure, or that could even be the main key figure, is the managing director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Mrs. Yvonne Opare. And I'm saying this because she signed the contract. I'm saying this because besides being the managing director, she's also a board member. And we are told, Paul Adomotri hasn't denied this, that Paul Adomotri brought this company to the board. And the CEO said she first met this company or representatives of the company at the board meeting. So she's a board member and also the MD. The board played a role, the MD played a role. She signed the contract, she wrote the PP to the PPA for approval, for the single source approval. She signed that letter. She signed the letter accepting the proposal from Evatex. And so she's involved in a number of things, and even a critical look at the documents would suggest that this contract was perhaps signed after the general election, but backdated. And I'm saying this because she minuted the letter to the head of procurement on the 11th of December. The instruction was to acknowledge and proceed with the award letter. The head of procurement receives this letter on the 12th and proceeds to write this award letter, which the MD signs. And guess what? A letter which is written based on a December 11th instruction is dated December 5th. And the contract that is awarded after that is also dated December 4th. So if you look at all of this, we have the signatures of the managing director in this document. So it is only fair for her to be called to account for her role. And I have information that tomorrow, Wednesday, she will appear at the office of the special prosecutor. She was supposed to have appeared yesterday, Monday, but my sources tell me it was rearranged. And so Mrs. Yvonne Opare will appear at the office of the special prosecutor. We wait to see what happens when she does appear.
It's a very interesting information. It's one that we'll keep tabs on as well. That the Ghana Airports Company Limited managing director is expected to appear before the also special prosecutor tomorrow, or to report to the office special prosecutor tomorrow. And I know that this is one as well that you are keeping this team on. Apart from her, any indication of the other persons that you say should be answering questions, OSP having any interest in those other persons as well, the PPA boss and then the Evatex CEO that you referenced? Maybe quickly before we go.
Well, the information I have is that they've been invited for questioning. Before Paul Adomotri was invited, I have information that the PPA CEO was invited and sent a letter, a response. And also, I'm told the CEO of Evatex was also invited, and he had earlier been invited and arrested in connection with the SML scandal, which is also being investigated by the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Manasseh, I appreciate your time on this. I thank you so much for this detail, and I know we'll definitely connect again. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Manasseh Azariah is the investigative journalist. He led the process of investigating this botched Evatex Ghana Airports Company Limited deal, for which the lawyers of Evatex have just written to the Ghana Airports Company Limited to restore the contract, or else that's within 7 days, or else they'll be faced with a court action. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break. We're getting to transport fares to increase or not. We'll be back shortly.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, there is some tension between the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. That's coming up next over a possible increase in transport fares. The two groups are at odds over the way forward and how that the fare increase should take effect. Earlier, there was this statement from the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. They said that there was going to be an adjustment in transport fares by Friday, 8th August. And this, they said, was in line with the administrative arrangement of public transport fares. One, to accommodate for the non-corresponding reduction in spare parts, goods and services after the reduction of transport fares by 15% on the 21st of May. So if you recall, there was a reduction in transport fares in May, 15%. They said they were expecting that with a reduction in this transport fares in May, and then the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar, that would have impacted on the prices of spare parts. But spare parts prices haven't reduced, that much, and they're still having to buy spare parts at a high cost. So they don't see why they should even reduce transport fares. One, they're asking that transport fares be increased by 20% because they wanted to accommodate the increase in operational cost after the introduction of the 1 cedi per litre levy, about 8% increase in fuel cost. Also, to accommodate for the increase in maintenance cost as a result of the deplorable roads across the country. So that's also damaging their vehicles. So all of this, so the new fares, 20% increase takes effect 8 August. And this would cover shared taxis, intracity, that's the trotro, intercity, long distance, and then the haulage as well. We are kindly requesting all commercial transport operators and companies to comply with the new fares and post same at their loading terminals. Further requests all operators, commuters, and general public to cooperate for the successful implementation. Now, when this came out, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, also issued a statement saying that no, this Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, they cannot increase transport fares. The above argument, even though though true, cannot and should not be the basis for punishing the suffering Ghanaian masses, as the overall effect of the new 1 Ghana levy is still not sufficient to wipe out the sustained reductions recorded at the pumps over the past couple of months. And then they say that fuel prices, which used to sell for 15 cedis per litre as of January 2025, when it declined to around 11 cedis and 12 cedis per litre, we saw a section of drivers who were magnanimous in reducing transport fares by some 15%, though a cross-section of other driver unions did not reduce their fares and had to be chased by the local assemblies to do so. So we sought to find out from the biggest transport union in this country, GPRTU, whether indeed they are in agreement with this 20% increase to take effect on Friday, or they were not aware. This is Abbas Imoro. He is head of industrial relations for GPRTU. I spoke to him earlier on 3FM 92.7 Hot Edition at 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, and he says GPRTU is not aware of this 20% increase. They were not part of any conversation. Take a look.
Much for agreeing to talk to us. First off, are you aware of this increase as announced of a 20% increase in transport fares by the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council?
Yeah, we have seen it, we've read it, but we are not part of it. Our leadership will come up tomorrow. So from tomorrow we'll be talking about it.
So you have just read it in the news just like me, but you were not part of any conversation of a possible 20% increase in transport fares?
At all.
But you are the biggest transport union in this country, GPRTU. So how can a conversation like this be had without you?
Yes, you can straight away guess. You can straight away guess why and where the contest is coming from. So you rest assured tomorrow our leadership will come up and we shall bring it to the public domain. So tomorrow we shall talk about that.
I see, Elijah, I don't want to guess, but what do you think is going on? Why were you not part of any conversation of a possible 20% increase in transport fares?
Alfred, we've been in this business for ages. So if I say you can guess the context is coming from, you really know what I'm talking about.
But the release from the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council that you say that you were not part of, they cite 3 reasons for the increase in the transport fares they've announced. The 1 cedi D-levy that took effect in the second pricing window of July. They talk about the no reduction in the price of spare parts and then the services cost as well. Are these concerns that you align with?
Our friends say what to hear from me. Why did there people? You are very trickish.
So he consistently indicated that by tomorrow there's a GPRTU leadership who will address the press on this matter. So tomorrow we will be there to hear from the GPRTU what exactly they have in terms of their position on this announced transport fare increase, which you say they are not aware of. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. We're back again tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you